Today on Legal Yes, Diddy's home is raided as Rose Hanbury is prepared to take legal action against Stephen Colbert. We've got that plus so much more on today's Legal Yes. Everyone, and welcome to Legal Yes. I'm Christina. That's Neama Rahmani, president and CEO of West Coast Trial Lawyers. And wow, Neama, what a story we have to talk about with Diddy.
Wow is right, Christina. I mean, we cover a lot of cases on Legal Yes, but this one is something else.
It really is. And a little backstory before we break it all down. Diddy's home, news broke that Homeland Security and local law enforcement in California and Florida raided Diddy's two homes in connection with a federal sex trafficking investigation. So law enforcement sources told ABC News that Diddy's two sons were reportedly detained at the scene of the raid on his Beverly Hills home. ABC News has since reported that they were released without charges. While TMZ broke the news on earlier this week, NBC News also reported that 3 women and a man had been interviewed by federal agents in New York, with 3 other interviews scheduled. The outlet reported that the interviews were in connection to the allegations of sex trafficking, sexual assault, and the solicitation and distribution of illegal narcotics and firearms. There's a lot more to this story than what I said. So break it all down. Why did they raid the homes to begin with? Obviously, they had a lot of information and probably were planning this for quite some time.
I believe they were, Christina. I think this all started with that lawsuit that we talked about in November when Cassie sued Diddy. And at the time, you and I talked about how incredibly foolish it was for Diddy not to settle the case before the allegations became public. And he settled it the very next day, and apparently the parties were about $10 million apart. But Cassie was with Diddy for a decade, and she knew where the bodies were buried, and she spilled it all out. And that encouraged other victims to come forward. And there was lawsuit after lawsuit alleging that Diddy and others had engaged in sex trafficking. So now it's gone from a civil lawsuit, which is about money, to a full-blown criminal investigation, and a very serious one that's based out of the Southern District of New York, probably the most prestigious prosecutor's office in the country. And federal agents executed 2 search warrants, one in Miami and one a mile away from where I live here in Los Angeles, with a lot of armed federal agents who went into the home, and they're looking for evidence of criminal activity, primarily sex trafficking, like you talked about, Christina, but other crimes as well. Add gun and firearms charges, and we're talking about someone who may spend decades in federal prison, like R. Kelly. And this is why, under federal law, if someone is convicted of even one count of sex trafficking, it carries a minimum 10 or 15-year prison sentence minimum. The judge can't go any lower for each count, depending on the age of the victim.
So there's a potential that Diddy could spend the rest of his life in prison.
Oh, very real possibility. I wouldn't be surprised if this is another Jeffrey Epstein or an R. Kelly type case where we're talking about multiple victims across multiple jurisdictions over a significant period of time. And again, these are just allegations. Nothing's been proven yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if Diddy is arrested in the coming days or weeks, and he's going to have to face these charges. And there's no possible plea that is going to get him off with a slap on the wrist or probation. Prosecutors are successful and able to prove it. He may end up dying in prison.
Wow. I mean, I believe, like you said, he could be arrested in coming days. I believe that he was with somebody at the Miami airport when this raid was happening, and that person was arrested. I believe they said it was like his quote unquote Diddy's drug mule was arrested. So why wasn't Diddy arrested at the scene? Are they still just mounting the evidence against him? And that's what they did with this home raid?
We're probably close to the end of the investigation. So there's 2 types of warrants. There's a search warrant, which is what we saw earlier this week, where agents went into the home. So a federal judge reviews the evidence, and if there's enough probable cause, he or she will sign the warrant, allowing agents to go into the home and to seize evidence. Then there's a second type of warrant, which is an arrest warrant. So once prosecutors go to the grand jury and they get an indictment, which is a charging document, a judge will issue an arrest warrant, and then Diddy and anyone else involved in the sex trafficking ring will be arrested. I don't think it's a matter of if, I think it's a matter of when Diddy will be arrested. And there are reports that, he was in Miami, his private jet was apparently in the Caribbean. So he should make sure that he has his lawyers on standby because he's likely going to face federal sex trafficking charges very soon.
Was it very suspect that this plane went to, I believe it went to Antigua? Like, could they seize that plane? Just conspiracy theories. Do you think that maybe they were kind of destroying evidence on that plane, things like that? I mean, it just seems very coincidental that that private plane was taking off without him, when all this was happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a coincidence that Diddy's private jet is leaving the country. What I would say, though, is, Antigua is an extradition country. So if Diddy is arrested there, he could be brought to the United States. The United States also has an MLAT with Antigua, which is a mutual legal assistance treaty. They help one another in criminal investigations. So if Diddy were to flee, that's not the best country to go to because he could be brought back to the United States.
Got it. And now there's another, Lil Rod came forward. He was a music producer that worked with Diddy. He has also filed a lawsuit against him in regards to the sex trafficking. And a lot of kind of high profile names are being brought into this as well, including Cuba Gooding Jr., who is also accused of sexually assaulting this person. Does it just seem like more and more names, and maybe high profile names, kind of like you said with Jeffrey Epstein, like a lot of this might be uncovered?
I wouldn't be surprised, Christina, if we start hearing the names of other celebrities. And this is why. Oftentimes when people abuse minors, there's not just one victim, right? They're constantly abusing one victim after another. And we've seen this with the R. Kellys and Jeffrey Epstein. The other thing that we often see when someone has a lot of money, they use other people to help recruit and entice these minors. We saw that with R. Kelly's entourage and with Epstein, his longtime girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell. And if you read the civil lawsuits, these allegations are there. There's allegations that Diddy's sons help recruit minor girls and that there's others as well. And of course, we know that Diddy rubbed elbows with a lot of rich and famous celebrities. So the question is, what did they know? When did they know it? And did they participate in any of this illegal sexual activity? If so, they should be very worried because they're probably next.
Yeah. God, I feel like we're going to be talking about this for quite some time, and it's really a shocking and disturbing story. All right. Well, let's move on over to Rose Hanbury. We talked about this last week. We kind of predicted that maybe she would take some legal action, and it seems like she's prepared to because she shut down speculation that she had an affair with Prince William. And In Touch confirmed that Hanbury's lawyers sent a legal notice to The Late Show with Stephen Colbert after Stephen poked fun at rumors she was unfaithful with Prince William in 2019 and linked the alleged affair to speculation about Princess Kate's whereabouts as she recovered from surgery. Her lawyer said in a statement, the rumor appears to have entered into the mainstream media recently as a result of another joke made about it on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. We have written on our client's behalf to CBS and various other reputable media organizations to confirm the allegation is false. I know you said last week that she doesn't really have a strong claim in this. Do you kind of stand by that still?
I do, Christina. Look, obviously, anyone can sue for anything, but, look, these are very serious allegations. You're talking about someone having an affair, right? But this rumor dates back many years. And, I went back before last week's show and I listened to what Stephen Colbert said. And he basically was talking about the rumors. Now, if you republish a defamatory statement someone else said, you still can be sued for defamation. But if he's saying something that's truthful is that, look, there are these rumors out there. And he did make a joke about it. I don't necessarily think that she's going to have enough to get past a judge on a motion to dismiss or a motion to summary judgment. I don't think she's going to be able to get to a jury based on what Stephen Colbert said. Because, again, he's not saying that, she affirmatively had an affair. He's just saying, look, these rumors are out there and she's denying it, which is what anyone would do when they've had an affair. So people can file. But I think this is more one of those cease and desist type situations than an actual lawsuit. But we'll see.
Right. Kind of like the scare tactic, kind of like when Taylor Swift sent the letter to the kid that was, following her flight path and things like that. It's more of like, all right, we need to calm down and not talk about my affair rumors anymore.
Exactly. I think this is one of those lawyer letter writing situations as opposed to a lawsuit. Yeah. When we covered Taylor Swift, I said, her lawyers know better. They're not going to file a lawsuit. They know they're going to lose. And I think that's probably what's going to happen in Rose's case as well.
Yeah. Oof. Lots of messiness this week. That's pretty much how we can describe it. Neama, thank you so much for your expertise as always.
Thank you, Christina. See you next week.
All right. See you next week.